Welcome to the Paisley Pirates Podcast, your ringside pass to players, coaches, and the people who keep the fire burning. The ship sails with all of you on board. Coming up in this episode.
It's a game of mistakes, right? That's what a good coach told me once, Jamie Turnbull. Whenever I started, I didn't have anyone to really aspire to. So why would I start? You know, there was no cool older girl that you could idolise. This might sound crazy to you, right? But because you can't magic female coaches, you can't magic top level female players.
And joining me this week on the Paisley Pirates podcast is a name you might not be familiar with the team. However, she is making waves with Glasgow's very first women's hockey team. Please help me welcome Aisling Rafter. Aisling, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Callum. Thanks very much for having me on the podcast.
No, it's absolutely fine. But just before we kind of get on with things and talk about, you know, like your time playing hockey and, you know, starting up the Thistles, we always have to get the most important question out of the way. What's your favourite biscuit?
It probably has to be the cookies that the garage sells at the bottom of Inverclyde Hospital. I've just grabbed a packet on the way home and I can't stop eating them. They're so good. That's a bit of a niche one though. Probably, I don't know. That's such a good question. A Rocky bar.
I haven't had a Rocky in years. Caramel Rocky's my favourite.
You can dip it into tea and it's just the perfect combination of chocolate to biscuit. What about you?
Oh, me? You're I think you're the first person to actually flip the script on me with that one, if I'm honest. That's a good question.
Yeah, it was yours.
Oh, goodness. I think I would say that, you know, like the supermarkets do like their own kind of cookies in the bakery section.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength there with those. Yeah, definitely.
Any of them, I would say they're perfect. You know,
they're just top tier, aren't they? Every time.
Absolutely. So let's kick things off with, like, you know, your time in hockey. What got you into hockey in the first place?
So so I started hockey quite late in life when I was about 14, 15. Which actually, you know, in fairness to like most adults that start, isn't very late in life. But if you compare it to kind of what my hockey pathway has taken me, it is a late kind of start compared to other people that have done the same pathway as me. But so I started when I was 15. My youngest brother, Rory, who's just moved to Scotland recently, he watched a Belfast Giants game. And as a family, we were going through a bit of a difficult time in our lives, and the ice hockey was something that really brought us all together as a family. So I think Rory, was quite inspired by the Giants players, as you would be as a young boy. So he decided to join the Junior Giants, and it wasn't really anything I was interested in because there wasn't any female representation. I did think it was very cool, but it wasn't really my thing. And kind of a year went down the line of my brothers going to the rink twice a week and my mum, picking me up from netball once a week. And she was like, netball's not very exciting, Aisling. I'm kind of bored going to watch you play netball every week. Why don't you just come to ice hockey? And I was like, Mum, there's only like one girl who's in the Junior Giants, Caitlin Morrison. And I was like, I'm not as brave as her, and I'm a bit older than her too, so I wouldn't even be in her age group. She said, well, there's a few other girls I know are going to give it a go. So I think 5 or 6 of us started at the same time. I think I'm the only one that still plays out of the lot of them. But we all started at the same time and they gave it a go. And Rob Stewart showed me the ropes and here we are. So that's what got me into it in the first place.
That's brilliant. So you actually had a bit of a start as well with the Giants under-20s, didn't you?
Yeah, so I had a couple of seasons with the 20s while I was doing my A-levels, and that was really quite like impactful on my life. I would say I was really grateful to get games because that was my only chance of getting games, being where I'm from. And also like getting the chance to go over to Scotland, which was then going to become my new home. And I really enjoyed that opportunity to travel and, play games. And that was just something I'd always wanted to do. And I remember Rob Stewart saying to me, like, I said to Rob Stewart, what are the chances I could maybe try and start to train with the under-20s? And he said, Aisling, I'm putting you in the first game. And I was like, because I was just thinking, I've still got baby steps. And I spent about 2 years in the Learn to Play program there because I did start late, and I think I'd only been playing a full season or two. as a 16-year-old girl, and then you just get thrown into a U20s boys team. So yeah, full contact, no taking no prisoners. So I did have to learn very quickly.
So along with the Giants, you've played with the Glasgow Stags, the Caledonia Steel Queens, and Whitley Bay. Correct me if I'm wrong here, the Whitley Bay Warriors have a women's team as well, don't they? Or is it a separate team altogether?
No, so the women's team are affiliated all within the ice rink. I think the ice rink takes quite a good job at keeping all their teams under their belt kind of thing, and keeping it a part of their community. And the Warriors are separate to the Beacons, they're called. The women's team are called the Whitley Bay Beacons. And really, I joined them in 2021 because I was trying to get more game time to help me towards the World Uni Games. Because up to that point I'd been playing with the Steel Queens and I was getting, maybe 10 games a season, and they were all kind of friendly games, not in any kind of league. And it was Rambo's efforts to try and make a women's team just to have a women's team. We didn't play in a league, we played friendly games, and we went to nationals, university nationals once a year to actually get the chance to be in a competitive tournament. So up to that point I hadn't actually ever played in a league since the under-20s. So the whole point of joining Whitley and being accepted by those girls was to get that chance to play in a competitive women's league.
So how would you describe your evolution as a player coming through those teams?
So I would say I think it probably kind of done a peak whenever I first started, because I was right in there in the deep end with the U20s Scottish League, and then I kind of plateaued a bit in terms of my playing ability, but I didn't quite plateau in terms of like my skill. I plateaued in terms of my skill that I had, but I soared in terms of my confidence, if that makes sense. So whenever I was in a girls' team, Rambo turning around and was like, "You're actually quite good," was something that will always like stick with me, because you're constantly comparing yourself to the person next to you, and whether they're a lad or not, or whether they've been playing for 15 years or not, I was still always comparing myself to the person beside me, even though I knew like it's not the same playing field here. You started late, and you're biochemically everything about you is different. So, be kind to yourself, but that's something I'm not very good at. So it was really great from a confidence point of view to then join the Steel Queens. And that did see me right the way through, confidence wise. Like, they've always got my back, and being on the leadership team as well has just really helped me feel so secure as a person, like away from my family as well. So yeah, it's been completely life changing. And then through to Whitley Bay was that chance to really kind of showcase the skills that I had retained from learning with the boys, and developing them and polishing them over the years. To be playing at a bit of a higher level and in a more competitive league. So it was cool to actually eventually be able to showcase that down south for a season.
So you're talking a lot about your confidence there as well.
Yeah.
When you look at your time with the likes of the Stags, you've played in the full contact team, but also played with the women's team of the Stags. How does that kind of compare? And, where does that confidence come from to go from, semi-contact to full contact, especially in a mixed team as well?
So I would say it was based off my, experience, I would say. So I think definitely I got a couple of bad knocks in U20s, and it made me quite fearful of playing with lads, not gonna lie. And I think sometimes Stags was never really a priority for me, because I really did just want to focus on being on a women's team, because the playing field is much more level in terms of physical contact. So if I'm being honest with you, it did shy me away a bit from the game. However, it was still providing people in Glasgow, students in Glasgow, with a unique opportunity to play and a unique opportunity to begin and learn ice hockey from quite a young from any kind of age, not a young age, sorry, because we're all a bit older, but kind of from your early adulthood. And that's like a unique thing I think Stags brought to Glasgow. And then now, more recently, women do have a chance to be on the women's team. In the last kind of year or two, we've really focused on that, and I've really, as well, having those amazing opportunities to play down south, like I knew that wasn't sustainable in the long term, and I knew if I wanted to try and change things closer to home or where I'm staying just now, I need to start putting my money where my mouth is, and actually focusing on what's around me, and like fix like helping to fix that, so we can actually create an environment that other people can have what England has, but in Scotland as well. So it's going to take some time, but we are getting there.
So one of those steps you've taken was you're moving into coaching, and primarily at the start, well, from my experience, was with the Stags anyway. At the same time, you're still a player. What made you take that step into becoming player coach?
I think, whenever I was learning, I had one or two female coaches that came into my life, and you never forget them. And it wasn't because of really anything they particularly said or did. It was just because I could actually see myself in them. And, that's like completely like it's completely game changing. Like, you can actually imagine yourself being a strong and physical player. It's great to watch. The lads' games are so fast and so physical and really amazing to watch. But you feel in yourself that maybe like that's great, but I could never ever, be that, because I'm not a guy. Whereas if you watched female coaching and you were taught by female coaches and other senior female players, you could then start to say, actually, no, I can do that. And I think when I started going to like GB trials when I was U16s and going to the GB student stuff, I was meeting players that were like so skilled, and I was like, wow, you've inspired me. I can be better. Like, this isn't where I finish. So I think that what motivated me to do coaching was that I wanted to be that role model for people, because I knew if I had that early impact in my life, things would have definitely changed for me in terms of how I viewed myself. So that's kind of why I did it, because actually I'm not overly kind of passionate about coaching, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, it's really great and I love the sport, but in terms of actually trying to inspire women to do it and believe in themselves, that's kind of why I stepped into that role a bit more.
What is the biggest difference you've noticed between playing and coaching?
I actually think so. So I went to the FISU World University Games in 2023 at Lake Placid. I was a player and I was the captain. So I had a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, but not nearly as much as a coach. I then went to Torino Games in 2025 as an assistant coach. That was a really good way to compare the games, because I was a captain at the time, and I still had like that ability to empathize with other players and listen to their concerns. But you always knew, okay, there's a level above me. Like, I can still, lean on my coaching staff. That was me. Like, I was the person that they leaned on. So it was kind of like, okay, now the buck does fall with me, and my decision making does now have a stronger impact on people, and people are turning to me for advice in a split second, and I need to have that ready. I need to be paying attention all the time to what they're doing. So I think that's probably, actually more mentally challenging to try and stay in the game even though you're not actually playing, is the biggest difference, I think. And you have to not only be mentally watching what your game would have been as a player, but you need to be watching what everyone's games are, the goalies, the forwards, the centermen, and I was just a defender. So I'm always like more clued up in the defensive stuff, but I've had to hugely increase my knowledge in terms of forwards and stuff and what they do, what the forwards do, up there, that thing. So I've had to clean myself up about that. So
just kind of touching on that, is that kind of level of coaching helped shape how you play, or vice versa?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say I play with a bit more awareness that I can see you're watching other people, and you can see what extra things that they could do to tweak, and you do pick up on what or if you're just taking a few extra steps, and you're just taking that space that you were given in front of you to get that shot away, if you just got that shot away quicker, that the goalie wouldn't have moved in time. And I think you pick up on those things because you spend so much time watching it. So as a player now, I kind of think, right, actually, what's more important in this situation, the quality of the shot or how quickly I can get it off my stick? And actually, it's how quickly I can get off my stick as opposed to the quality. So that's kind of the things that you notice, because as a player, you want the perfect wrist shot, and you want the perfect slap shot, and you want everything to be the perfect pull it through the legs and stuff like that. But as a coach, you're like, just get it to the net, just stop this messing around, just play the game. So that's kind of what I've been doing more.
So how would you approach helping players balance competitiveness with the enjoyment of the game itself?
Oh, that's a good question. I I think people, especially women, get huge anxiety about playing, it's a game of mistakes, right? That's what a good coach told me once, Jamie Turnbull, that hockey's a game of mistakes, and it's about, kind of recognizing your mistakes and doing better the next time and reacting well to your mistakes and mentally not, shaking out of it. And I think competitive, excitement can also come with anxiety and nervousness. And I think when people get really competitive, it can change. It can become anxiety, and I think there's a fine line there. Have you ever heard of the pressure performance curve, Callum?
Oh yes. So
this is what I talk about a lot. When we were at the FISU games, the girls are playing against Team Canada, Team USA, and I want them to feel like they can compete and they can play against these teams. Yeah. In reality, we can't. They're Team Canada. They're going to the PWHL. Our girls are doing their best, but you still want to have that same competitive, not giving up on the puck at the same time. So it's about that sweet pressure performance curve. You put the pressure on so much that you get optimal performance. You don't want too much pressure to boil over the performance and your performance goes to shit. And you don't want not enough pressure so you don't have enough kind of oomph. So it's just trying to find each person's sweet spot, I would say, individually, and bringing out the best in each individual person. So that's probably what, as a coach, that's what I've noticed, is how to bring out the people's competitive side. And then the fun side is quite difficult. It really depends on your group of team. It really depends on your team and how comfortable people feel around each other. But I would say if you can establish a good team morale from the beginning, and stomp out any kind of individuals that tend to wander off and not be part of the group, if you can kind of bring those people back in and give power to the people that you want your team to be like, give the captaincy to someone that is an approachable, friendly person that works hard. That's the kind of things that you can do to make sure your team morale is on it, so people can have fun and be competitive.
So talking about, keeping it fun, keeping it competitive.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the big one now, the Glasgow Thistles. How did the idea all come about?
Okay, so the Thistles have been something that I have always wanted to do, pretty much since, the Stags became such a great success in the city, and the Steel Queens that I play for just now, that play in Division 1, they are growing so much. They have 150 people in the club last season. They are just exponentially growing, and women's sports is taking off as well in general. And what I noticed as a player that has played for the closest elite league team, which is Whitley Bay, and the closest competitive women's team in Scotland, which is either Solway or Steel Queens is what I play for, the amount of girls that came from Glasgow and drove to these teams was so frustrating me. We have such an amazing network of teams right at our doorstep. Why are we all driving miles away to play? When we could actually just get our heads together, invest in our home roots, and come together and make our club what we want it to be. Why do we go to these clubs? Whitley Bay is an amazing team culture. Let's take the piece of that great team culture and bring it back home. Steel Queens the same, have an amazing culture and have pioneered, the first competitive women's ice hockey team, and Solway, with those great ideas that you've seen in different clubs. Why not bring them all together, all the good ideas, and put them together in a place that really could do well with a club right in the city? So that's kind of where it came from, and it was about trying to get people all on the same board with that. Because it's funny, because once you speak to people that have done these things for many years, it's very difficult for them to see any other option. So people will always still travel to Whitley and always still travel to England for competitive hockey, but I really hope that in time that we can still access the same competitive level but closer to home, and that in turn will actually bring up the quality of women's ice hockey across the UK.
But what made now the right time to do that? Obviously, you said you've wanted to do it for a while. Why now? Why not 2-3 years ago? Personally,
I was very busy at university. I studied medicine, and I was going through the finals, and I also had personal investment within myself to try and promote myself as a player and play in the most competitive league that I could. And at the time it was for Whitley Bay and for Steel Queens, and luckily I can still do that. And Steel Queens got promoted in its first season. I can still play Division 1 hockey. It's still doable. Mm-hmm. But I know in the long term, if this is where I would love, to settle in Glasgow, like this is where you need to start investing in and, build that future for other people that have done exactly the same route as you, because my pathway isn't unique. Like lots of people come from Northern Ireland to Scotland to study for university, and there's lots of girls that have joined the Junior Giants that will maybe do a similar journey to me in life, mm-hmm. like Beth Nelson. And I just want to always make things better. So now's the right time, because you had the back of winning the England women winning the European Championships, which exponentially grew women's sport across the board. And then you've also got new other clubs popping out in the East Coast, such as the Dundee Royals and the Fife Arctic Foxes. And I think once they get those groups of girls put their names out there, that really gave me the confidence to say, we need to get on this now, because actually, if we don't start doing this now all together, then we can't all do this individually. Dundee are going to need a league to play in. Fife are going to need a league to play in, So we need to get on this sooner than later. And I also got in the ear of Claire Bear, she's called on Facebook, for Claire Adams. She's from Belfast Foxes. She's just started the Vixens, so I've been in Claire's ear saying, get the Vixens going again. There might be a Scottish Women's League in the future, and I still really do believe there can be. So that's kind of why I think it was just all the stars kind of came into line. You've got amazing people at your doorstep, Claire Turnbull, for example, that are coming through as really promising female coaches in Glasgow. So I thought, why not give it a go? Why not just try it? If it doesn't work, well, we'll learn and we'll try again for next time. But if it does work, then let's just see how it goes.
I was going to ask kind of later on as well about a kind of a women's league within Scotland. It's quite clear there's an appetite now to have like potentially like a WSNL or a WEIHL, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel as if there could be some good stepping stones to making that happen soon?
I think this is probably the very most important year to try and get this women's SNL league going as ever in history before, because as I say, you've got 5 new women's clubs in Scotland that are really, really growing well. If the league and SIHA can harness that energy and put it into a unifying project like becoming a league, that it will pay off, it will develop. And already we're having 20 people coming every session, and we've been very lucky to get some weekly consecutive sessions to basically pilot test what a club would look like throughout a season. And I've been getting 20 to 25 girls coming every week. They're hungry to play, and people don't know that they can do it because they've never had it before. And this is kind of what I've been saying to a lot of people, is that women don't know they actually can have that because it's never existed. And I like to use the example of really successful Scottish female players that have come through and have ended up where they are. You've got the likes of Angela Taylor, who has come from Paisley and played at NCAA Division 1, which is probably one of the highest levels that you can play as a female in the world. And she came from Paisley, and we've got such a great route of successful, talented players. Ruby Newlands, getting player of the tournament at, IIHF, like women's U18 World Championships for GB's division. Louise Adams, another incredible player that has played across in like all the top women's Swedish leagues as well. Louise Adams is English, mind you, but I'm just a lot of noticeable people that have come through the kind of women's league systems. But Ruby Newlands, for example, is from around Kilmarnock area and has played for Kilmarnock Juniors. Emma Lamberton, another incredible talented force that's coming out of North Ayr, who just got called up to the senior women's team as a 17, 18-year-old girl. It's like the talent is coming from where we live. But why have we not had the facilities and the league to support them?
The Paisley Pirates podcast is going live. Join us on the 30th of August at the Wine Centre in Paisley, where we'll be talking with legends of the 1997 Scottish Cup winning squad. Get your ticket now at www.paisleypirates.co.uk and click on the events tab. We cannot wait to see you there.
I think that's absolutely spot on, and I should have really said this at the start. You know, you were also part of, you know, spearheading having the first women's game at Braehead as well.
Yeah,
and that was only just last season, and how it's taken so long for that to happen is unreal. But with what you're doing with the Thistles, you know, this could be a massive step forward as well. As I say, for the game for women, not just in Scotland, but obviously for up and down the UK. Granted, there's more women's team down south than there is up here, but as you said, there's now 5 teams up here.
Yeah,
one team short of a full on league as well. You know, we're so close to getting there. But with everything that's going on with women's hockey, what do you think are the biggest barriers for women getting into hockey? And how can clubs like the Thistles, you know, help change that?
I think to be honest, it's representation from a leadership point of view. I think that's one of the main barriers. Like I said, whenever I started, I didn't have anyone to really aspire to. So why would I start? You know, there was no cool older girl that you could, you know, idolize. And that is one of the reasons why I do things, because I see people and they look cool doing it, so I'll do it. Do you know? And that's just a like really, you know, naive way of looking at things. But, you know, the girls that played for Great Britain, whenever I started playing ice hockey, I totally idolised. And if I had someone that, you know, was you know, even knew them or had the similar skill level in my club who was more senior than me, you know, there'd be me and 10 others wanting to do it. So I think it's actually, you know, having the role models there, you know, closer to home and to hand, and, you know, to be able to contact. And then secondly is, you know, the environment. So, you know, whether it's a welcoming environment, does it, you know, are they inclusive to women? You know, and that's the environment. They don't have the environment at the moment to feel that they can, you know, do it. So women's clubs aren't, you know, common at all, and they haven't been. So if you want to start as an adult woman, you have to join a recreational team, which comes with all of its kind of fun concoction of personalities and people, you know, which makes our sport great at the same time. But it does come with a lot of different kind of flavours of life, and you have to try and work through that, you know, on a personal point of view and, you know, from a sporting point of view. And I think it takes a certain character within women to try to just kind of ignore that and have the confidence to continue trying to learn a new skill. And I also think kind of way back, you know, whenever I was growing up, sport wasn't really a big part of my, you know, life. And I think if I had a, you know, bigger influence or knowledge of how important sport was, I maybe would have done it at an earlier age. And I think older people to me that are women probably have a similar experience. But it's great to see that younger clubs, younger people and more junior clubs are being a lot more welcoming to female players. But I certainly think that, you know, I went back to Belfast recently, and no discredit to them at all, but there isn't any kind of exponential growth of women, because I think this is because there's not a lot of role models around. And I think if you had a good retained kind of older girls group that could have inspired a younger generation, there would have been a growth from that point of view. But there's still the 5 or 6 girls that have hung around like every year, and you think, why are you not why are we not growing here? And I think it's because of leadership, to be honest.
So would you say there'd be any other support that would make a real difference for women's hockey? You know, whether that's facilities, funding, or even just kind of general visibility? I
think, being totally honest, and this might sound crazy to you, right? But because you can't magic female coaches, you can't magic top level female players in your local rink. Like, they just don't exist. But if you can ask one of the guys or a head coach of a successful team, you know, maybe like the Paisley Pirates, for example, you know, Ian Turley, ask him, Ian, put a good word out about the women's team. Have someone that's an important person in a men's successful club back the women's team, back what women are doing. You'll have people then trusting and buying into it because you have strong leaders that may not necessarily represent, you know, what we're trying to do exactly, but if you've got a support from right within the core of the sport, that's what's going to change things around for women as well. That's what's going to change everyone's perspectives of the women's game as well. So I really think, you know, interest and support from key stakeholders that have currently shaped the sport to where it is now is going to be crucial. If we get on board with these kinds of people, you know, we can be really accepted within the community and have access to this, you know, to similar fan groups and, you know, the support that the men's teams have had the last 20, 25 years, or how many ever years Five Flyers, how old Five Flyers are, you know, have had access to. And we're all accepted within this ice hockey family. And it's not just you're a women's hockey supporter or you're a women's football supporter. You know, the men's team support the women's teams and the women's team support the men's teams. And it all kind of, we're all just one. We're not a men or a women's team. We're just a team, you know? Yeah. So I think, and that's probably something that sounds a bit strange, you know, why should we wait till a man comes around to say this is a good thing? But genuinely, this is what it's taken for women's hockey to get to where it is, you know. And I talk a lot about Rambo because Rambo is the guy who started the Steel Queens. And I don't know if this is going to sound quite sad, but I don't know if the impact would have been as the same if it was only a woman starting it. And that's a sad reality of societal views on women leaders, especially in ice hockey where we're underrepresented. So I think just the empowerment comes from within the key stakeholders that currently exist in the sport.
So going on to just, you know, looking at people who are speaking to people who have never given hockey a try in their life, what would your advice to them be?
If they were interested in starting, first of all, that's a good point. I have to be interested first. Well, I would say that they would need to get skating first of all, because it's no use if they can't, you know, have a basic idea of how it is to stand up on the ice. But definitely, you know, there's a lot more ways into the sport now than there was 5 or 10 years ago. So if you're any way remotely interested, you know, get in touch with your local recreational team. You know, these guys have access to current leagues and you'll be able to get games with them pretty quickly in registrations, and keep an eye out for the future women's clubs who are coming through offering those extra opportunities as well. And until we have that stable foundation of we are a club and here's how you register for us and we have games XYZ times of the year, I would say, you know, go with what's currently available until we are in a position where we can say, yep, we've got our own infrastructure now and we can stand on our own 2 feet. We're not quite there yet. So, you know, a lot of girls have just come into the sport new, right directly into the Thistles, and it's quite tricky because now we're in this kind of grey area of, yes, I would love you to be able to play hockey all year, but you actually need to register for a recreational team because technically we're something that no one knows how it's going to work yet. So we don't even have a registration system. So that's something that Beth Schoon and Mo Muir are, you know, looking into and have been appointed as women's reps in the Scottish Ice Hockey Association, which is absolutely huge. Like, that's going to completely change the women's game in Scotland because we'll actually have, you know, a say in how we can try and organise ourselves, you know, from within the committee for within the board. So yeah, that's been completely game changing, and I really thank the current chairman of the SIHA for being so open-minded.
So sticking with, you know, beginners and wanting to give it a try, the Thistles have their very first beginner fun day happening. So it'll be, so when this goes out, it's going to be the exact same day. It's going to be, let's just say, this evening, 3rd of August. It's coming up at the Peak in Stirling. What can people expect from it?
Oh, so I was just making up the schedule just before we phoned Callum. But yeah, so on Sunday we're doing an open session for anyone that's remotely interested in giving women's hockey a try. There's 2 hours of ice and it's only £10, and you can come pick up a stick, pick up a pair of gloves, and pair of skates, and have a pass about, pretty much, and you'll learn the basics from current players. We're doing one-to-one mentoring, and we're doing some fun competition games. Best belly slide and stuff like that. So, or best fall, or quickest learner. These kind of things, just to really build up the team spirit.
I'm pretty sure you and Brad did that with us at a Stags training session one night. Just like sliding your belly across the ice, get back up. Right, okay.
Yep, just everyone line up, skate as fast as you can, and dive. Yep. BIHA hockey, everyone.
Exactly. So, how important would you say these taster events in building the momentum and the confidence in new players would be?
I think huge. Like, everyone's first touching point in the sport is always the most important thing. Important moment for them if they're going to keep doing it. So having an open session where you openly invite people that are interested, or maybe have been too nervous, you have a tailored session where you invite those people to just come along. They're not kind of at the side learning the basics while the team do what they're meant to do. They're welcomed in. It's a dedicated session and dedicated time for them, so that they can get a really good introduction to the sport, build confidence right from the get-go, and feel part of the family when we have dedicated time to give them that they need. So it's really great that we've got the chance to do that.
So what are you hoping people walk away with after the open day?
I'm hoping people walk away with a bag of tablet, which is what Amanda Gardner's making everyone. She's an amazing act. She did loads of bags of tablets for the GB women's team when they played in Dumfries for us. So that was great. So she's donating lots of tablets. So yeah, you'll get some tablet when you go home. I'm hoping that you make some friends and make some memories. Just really just have a laugh, and build in some kind of competitive spirit, and just be hungry to come back for more, pretty much.
Amazing. So before we wrap up, let's just we'll bring it back to you again. So we know that hockey can be, it can be a massive commitment, whether you're in university, if you're working full time. But what motivates you to keep showing up for it all, whether it's coaching, playing, organising, all the above? So I think it's always been something that I knew I wanted to do for as long as I could, and it just means so much to me. Just right into my core. It's touched my life. Those moments that I've had in games and as a coach and as a young girl in a boys team have been integral to making me who I am. And I just feel like the confidence and memories and opportunities it's given me, I owe it so much to give that to other people, and help other people experience what I've experienced. And yeah, I just feel like it's also such a great thing to have in your life, to just feel like you're part of a team, part of a family. And why the Thistles I wanted to create, so people could have that closer to home, that are new to Glasgow, or on the Stags as well. They can feel like part of something, that's fun and friendly, and everyone's up for a laugh. It's not too serious, and that's also a key thing, is that you've got kind of avenues for people that do want to take it seriously and are competitive, and you've got an avenue for people that are just there for fun. That is good. It's important to have both of those things. But on a personal level, I've always just given it my time, because it's just my passion. It's just my daily grind. I wake up, I go to work, but on the way to work, I'll before I leave the house, I'll have planned the next couple of things, or I'll send a few text messages into the committee chat, or if I'm sitting on my lunch break, I'll be emailing suppliers. I'll be doing this. It's just a constant daily grind for me, because it's just my passion. There's no other way to describe it. So have you had any kind of standout mentors or teammates along the way that really helped shape your journey?
Well, first of all, my best friend, who inspired me to even come to Glasgow in the first place is Vicky Carson. She's been my teammate pretty much since I can remember. And when I got the first opportunity to play in Scotland, in the Scotland ladies team, she was on that team too. And she was my first Scottish friend. So yeah, she's just been my rock actually throughout the time I've lived here. And I guess Beth Skin as well. She's one of the head of programs currently for the Steel Queens and one of the head coaches for our team. But she, committed 12 years of her life to play at the top level of women's hockey down in Kingston, and she lived in Edinburgh, and just her level of dedication and commitment to the sport is really inspiring. I would say those two people probably I would say they're probably my top picks.
Nice. And what would you say is the best piece of advice you've been given as a player or as a coach, or even both?
Actually, from a sports psychologist, would you believe?
All right. Interesting.
The mental game is more than 80 or 90% of my game. If I don't have a good mental day, I'm toast. Mm-hmm. So, the act of being able to mentally reset and, forget about your mistakes and move on was probably the biggest lesson I ever got taught, and it just helped me so much in life. I'm a junior doctor now. I mess up cannulas, I mess up bloods all the time, but if I went into every blood test I did and thought I'm going to mess this up because I messed the last one up, all my patients would be butchered, but you can't. But that is the truth of how my sport has impacted my life, is that I am actually able now to not dwell on my mistakes, because I make mistakes all the time. But if you dwell on them, you're going to just set yourself up for failure. Yeah. So it's about having the confidence in yourself, having the belief in yourself. Yeah, I'm going to get this blood test the first time. Yeah, I'm going to make a great pass. It's, actually having that confidence and talking to yourself and resetting when you do mess up. That's been the biggest lesson for me. And that's what a guy called Steve Eccles taught me. He's now a very successful sports psychologist, but he came away with one of the GB students teams 1 year, and I was a player. And yeah, he was great. He taught us great lessons, but that was my most important moment, probably.
Amazing. So, Aisling, just before we close off, how can people support the Thistles even if they're not stepping onto the ice?
Well, like and follow our Facebook and social media pages. If you can, talk to your own clubs if you're not part of the Thistles, but you're maybe part of other recreational teams, or you follow other teams like the Clan and the Pirates. Talk about us, bring us up in conversation. We just want to get our name out there, the word that women's hockey is actually taking place in Glasgow. You don't need to drive to England to be in a women's team. This is what I want to just really promote and help people understand, is that we can have this here. We're a family here, and we're not going to leave anytime soon. Mm-hmm. And I want everyone to feel they can feel a part of that too, even if they're not a woman or they've not ever experienced women's sport or women's hockey, that they can still, tap into us. And we're just a new club that has started. So just literally just, I don't know, just be as excited for it as I am, probably, which is probably not possible. But just supporting it from the side is just as good as coming along to a session.
I think this epitomizes the kind of common the common phrase within UK hockey, that hockey is for everyone.
Yeah,
and this is kind of this is proofs in the pudding with this. Aisling, this has been absolutely amazing. Is there anything you want to kind of finish off with or sign off with?
I think I just wanted to say as well, if you're a woman that's supported hockey for a long time, it's never too late to give it a go. Just, come along to a session, get in touch with Glasgow Thistles. We'll find the right club or team for you to join, and and we'll also look after you along the way. And, hopefully we'll have regular ice this season and you'll be able to register with us as your team. But that's hopefully still to come. But just get in touch if you're a woman or a girl, or you're a girl that currently plays and you're feeling a bit isolated within your team. Just know that we're here now and we're here to help, and you can feel supported by us and within the community if that is the case. But I don't think that's very common here, and I think people are very welcoming to women across most teams. But just know that we are here and we support you, what you're doing.
Ashley, thank you so much for your time tonight. This has been great.
No, thanks, Callum, for having me, and best of luck with all your future podcasts. And I hear it's such a great success, so well done on all the amazing work you've done with it.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. So hopefully Ian and Jackie Turley heard that.
The Paisley Pirates are proud to be sponsored by Cold-Blooded Sports, Renfrewshire Council, cyclelane.co.uk, Custom Sports Stitch, Hillington Tyre Services, Al Gould Photo, Studio 13, Abbey Services and the Falk family.